Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at the most recent price action, what's been going on most recently, what we think is likely to happen next, and all that wonderful stuff. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and you will not miss another video update. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, guys, you're missing a trick. Check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out? Let's jump right down into this one. We're going to be taking a look at a couple of things here. We'll obviously be taking a look at 𝗕𝗢𝗠𝗃𝗧𝗧, we're taking a look at smart money concepts, and if we have time, we'll also take a look at a bigger macro piece as well. So let's start things off by talking about what happened yesterday in an 𝗕𝗢𝗠𝗃𝗧𝗧 perspective. We can see that we saw a breakdown of this structure. So we were tracking 5 waves going up. We did cross the invalidation line, and therefore this was now a reversal. So we can actually see that our C wave finished here at the top of this wave 3. So I can remove that. We can see this here. It just means that essentially the sentiment in the space had shifted and changed, right? So it was tracking impulsively to the upside. Again, in my opinion, through manipulation through this institutional level candle here. And then we can see that actually we reversed back down and we ended up with another institutional candle here, but not before we saw this wick down and this wick up liquidating people. So we know there's a lot of manipulation going on at the moment, so be really, really careful and cautious with it. But we can see that here that 5-wave structure had broken by crossing this low level. This is why we always talk about these invalidation levels. So that was $28,305, and we can see that this was broken, and therefore we can now look at this in the other direction. Okay, so where do we sit right now? Well, we can see here that we do have this interesting kind of structure. What I want to do is I just want to pull this down into a 5-minute chart. So I do want to take a look at the here. You can see that it basically came down, took out any long positions, then went up, took down any short positions, and then actually went down there. So we can see here that this is a really interesting kind of structure. Ultimately, it's all kind of choppy up here, and we have this move down, then we have this move up, then we have this big move down here. So looking at it, we can argue that this is kind of just a 3-wave structure, but let's jump down into our hourly chart again and just reflect on that. Okay, so here we can see we have this move here. Now it's not a diagonal, it's nothing impulsive there, so we do have to look at this as a 3-wave structure. Okay, so we can't look at it as a 5-wave structure, even if it has met those Fibonacci levels. Let's go ahead and check. Right, so if I do this up here, you can see that we did easily pass that 1.618 level on that, but I don't think that's really how it worked. And we also know that we went down before we went up, right? So if we'd actually look more like this, A down here to this low, B up into this high, and then C down into this one. Okay, so we know that that's what's going on there. It means that this is a reversal point, and we should be expecting a slight push up higher here, although it is possible that we have another micro movement down first. Okay, so looking at this and looking at how our wicks are proceeding here, I do think that we're finding a good area of demand right inside this little range. Let me go ahead and try to snap that on there. There we go. So this is basically 27,805 to 27,945. So it does look like on the hourly chart anyway, that this is turning into a bit of a demand area. Now, taking a look at this structure, I would say that we are probably going to be looking for that next move upwards. Although I'm not liking the stochastic RSI, but it is what it is. From a wave count point of view, we should be looking to push up a little bit higher here. Let me go ahead and see where that went wrong. Let me go ahead and draw that on from here to down here. That's right, yeah, move that to our low here. So we should be looking at around the 28,383 towards the 28,504. So approximately up here in this kind of range. So looking at it, I would say it looks like this, where we have a 3-wave structure at this point in time doing that. But equally, it's important to also note that we can still test down on this low a little bit more. I don't think we can kind of say it's categorically done just yet. But I wouldn't expect this low to be lost. I would say that the 27,805 should hold. Yeah, it should hold. And then I think looking at this, we have 3 waves going up. We kind of have 3 waves going down. The concern that I have is there's a smaller 3-wave structure right in here. And this could basically put us only coming up slightly higher, back up into the resistances, approximately around here at 28,236. So a little bit of caution to be had there. But the expectation should be this bigger kind of wave count coming up into this higher range. When that is done, though, and if we do not have a good amount of momentum behind the price, then I would be concerned that we'll be looking at this as a bigger corrective structure taking us down into these lows. Okay, probably testing back down onto some of these existing lows down here towards 26,967 to 27,252 approximately. So there's a lot of things to kind of be considering when we talk about Elliott wave theory, and a few things here of concern. I think we've got a small push upwards, but there is a potential move where we slip down a little bit. I am slightly bullish on the larger timeframes though. I do think there's momentum to be had for a bigger move to the upside, and we'll see if we can get some time to take a look at that in a moment. But from an Elliott wave theory, on the smallest micro movement timeframes here, we should be thinking a possible move up higher before we go down a fraction as well. Let's take a look at smart money concepts. What is smart money concepts telling us? Well, obviously we saw a brief change yesterday, right? So we were in a bullish kind of change of characteristic to the upside. We had a break of structure, a CTS to the upside. We can see that that has now turned into a bearish tail. We can see it right here, and that happened when we actually closed this candle here at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Now when we take a look at this, we can see we lost the 50, we lost the 200 EMAs, so they are resistance for us right now, and we're also resting on equilibrium. If we lose equilibrium, then we're going to have to test these lows. I still think that's something that has to happen here. Now it could just be that we find ourselves coming up and testing that higher range, as I said with Elliott wave theory, probably around the 50 EMA, and then we lose the equilibrium, and then we come down into these lows. Here we'll probably be looking at trying to find some good buying support somewhere in these ranges. At the moment, as it stands, we still have a weak high, strong lows. So from a smart money concepts, everything here still looks like we have the potential to change this. On a bigger scale, we are still bullish. We have a bigger bullish tail, basically telling us that the structure here is to the upside. But there are some short-term dashed lines like these ones here that are basically saying that prepare ourselves for some short-term moves to the downside. I think that pretty much aligns ourselves quite nicely to the bigger macro on the daily at the moment, rather than these hourly charts. These hourly charts are choppy at best. You can see here we've been kind of stuck inside this little range for a little while now, and ultimately I think we're going to have to come down and just test these lows a fraction more before we can start to move upwards. Now if I go ahead and drag in a parallel channel in here, one of the things that we want to be kind of considering, let me see if I can get this neater, approximately around here, is that lower lows and lower highs have a tendency to break upwards. So to test this higher range and then test the lower range a couple of times could set us up quite nicely for a bigger move to the upside. The interesting thing here is that we'd have a ability to kind of call this a three-wave structure from an Elliott wave theory point of view as well at a later date. So from a smart concept smart money concepts point of view, it does look like we have a little bit of volatility to be expected. A move to the downside, move to the upside, all that kind of usual stuff. I don't think it's too disjointed from what Elliott wave theory is telling us. Elliott wave theory is saying that we can, of course, just consolidate into this low range a little bit, but do have the potential to push up a little bit higher. And smart money concepts is telling us the same thing. Basically, we're trying to find support on equilibrium, but we're struggling quite a bit. We can also see here that we're kind of coiling up quite well into a little triangular wedge right here, right on equilibrium. So a break from this is going to be interesting as well. So a little bit of concern there, but I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for Bitcoin to break back upwards once that kind of natural correction has occurred. So on the smaller time frames, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I'm thinking that there is going to have to be some kind of small pullback so that we can then kind of capitalize in on that and then take it to the next level. Now, if we were to trade on this, how am I going to do it? Well, I would be looking at a couple of things here, right? So we can see here within our smart money concepts that we have a couple of swing highs and swing lows. Personally, I think it's too risky at this point in time to be thinking about those next moves. But however, if we were to come down and test these lows, I would be tempted to actually go into a long position. I'd probably be looking to try to target out a nice area down here. Like I was saying earlier, right, we could come down into that 27,000 area, right? So I could go ahead and try to scope out a really accurate price, but I think in time we'll see a more accurate level once this formation of candles starts to appear. But if I were to go short here, I would definitely be putting my stop loss down below the local swing low. This swing low was 10 p.m. UTC on the 3rd of April. So I'd be looking at trying to do that down here. It's approximately 27,200. And then I'll be targeting out a move upwards, and I would be targeting into probably one of these ranges here, but I would be also looking for a 1.5 or greater on risk reward ratio. So I'll be looking at some of these areas of resistances somewhere like this would be an interesting kind of area to be. Now, if I am going to be trading, I'm of course going to be trading on 𝗕𝗘𝗪. 𝗕𝗘𝗪 is my go-to platform for trading. Now, there's plenty of different offers that are going on with 𝗕𝗘𝗪. 𝗕𝗕𝗪 is the only place that I'm trading at the moment, both from spot point of view or from a leverage point of view. You can deposit USDT here, and if you deposit 50 USDT, you'll get cash back of $10 USDT. They do rewards all the way up to $8,000 depending on how much you deposit on the platform, and different kind of trading volumes and things like that. We also run weekly trading competitions down in our Discord server for all of the people who have signed up using our link, which is in the description down below. Now, to address some of the FUD that is out there, I would suggest everybody heads over to Twitter, check out 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪's official page. They've put an article together addressing what is going on. It go into a lot of detail. I don't want to go into a lot of detail here, but I would say that I am still very happy to be on 𝗕𝗘𝗪, and it's the kind of due diligence that 𝗕𝗘𝗪 are doing here that actually allow me to be more confident using 𝗕𝗘𝗪 than ever before. I will link all of these in the description down below, because there's a lot of FUD and lots of claims of things that are going on when it comes to 𝗕𝗘𝗪, and actually the story is a lot more complicated than you might be led to believe. So 𝗕𝗘𝗪 addressed this, and I think that's a fantastic way of addressing kind of these things in the space as well. I'll link all this into the description down below, but just be rest assured, I'm still using 𝗕𝗘𝗪. I like 𝗕𝗘𝗪. I think it is much better than some of the other platforms that you see in the space, and yeah, if you're like me and you don't believe that the FUD that you're seeing out there, and you are yet to kind of sign up to 𝗕𝗘𝗪, why not check it out, linked in the description down below, and maybe take part in our weekly competitions down in our Discord server. So check it out, guys, linked in the description below. So let's jump down into this, right? So if I was to short it, or if I was to go long on the market, that's kind of how I would look at it, but I would be looking for a much better entry. I want to make sure that I snipe that one as best I can, and I want to minimize the risk. Let's take a look at that daily picture, right? So the daily picture here for Bitcoin is very much higher highs, higher lows, and these do have a tendency to break down, but I'm still seeing there's a need and a requirement to potentially push up higher here on the daily time frame. Now, it'd be interesting to see how this develops over time, but ultimately our stochastic is in a pretty reasonable position. So this reasonable position on the stochastic RSI does give us a little bit of hope. Now, if I take a look at the divergence indicator here, is there anything to kind of be concerned with at the moment? And there isn't. So this is looking okay. So basically the RSI is reasonably high, so I would expect something there as well, but the stochastic is going to give us a more immediate kind of reaction to price. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what happens from that point of view. If I throw in the volumes here, you can of course see that the volumes have been decreasing quite rapidly as we have entered up into this. It's basically showing us lack of momentum behind the price. The volumes have significantly reduced. So I would be expecting some kind of big move on Bitcoin at some point soon. So keeping a close eye on all of that. Now, there's no guarantee that we push up higher. It's just my expectation, but it'll be interesting to see how the momentum shifts if we do start to test this trend line one more time before we eventually break down. At some point, we will be having to break down, in my humble opinion. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to leave this video, I think. I think ultimately we are looking for a short-term correction, but do be prepared for a potential push up higher, and then that should line us quite nicely for a bigger macro movement to the upside on the daily. Doesn't have to be massive, just needs to be enough to take us back to the overbought area, in my opinion, on this chart. Again, we're up in the supply area, so I would have expected to see more selling volume at the moment. Doesn't look to be the case, and we are consolidating nicely, so maybe it's not a supply zone. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Really interested to get everyone's thoughts and opinions on the data as they see it, and I'll catch everybody in the next one.
We are not financial advisors. None of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to risk your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.